Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, Corey and Evelin. Let's watch.
Just hoping for the best. You want to talk to me about last night? Why you got so upset?
Because we got an agreement, and you broke it. Corey always brings the past back and always promises that he's not going to.
Yeah, I don't know, but independent of what is seemingly their motivation to be in a relationship, I think that he really wants to be with her, and she is very much on the fence as to whether or not she wants to be with him. Independent of that, I think that it's possible, given what we've seen, that on one hand, he brings it up too often because of his insecure attachment issues. And I think that he brings it up in a way that would make sense, and that Evelin should allow for some of that to be brought up sometimes. I think it's both. That's the sense I get. Instead, for Evelin, she just sees all of that information as being unfair or ridiculous or weak or something.
I don't want him to let this bother him. And if he does bother him, he needs to let me know how we can fix this so it's not a problem anymore.
I am sorry that I just...
Okay, I thought for sure what she was going to say there was if he can't figure out a way to fix it, he just needs to go home, because that's frequently what she's saying, what she will say. But that's not what she said. She's like, he needs to tell me how we can fix this. That's very constructive. Let's see if maybe she's turned a corner and she has a different attitude.
Let it all out there, kind of, but, with me and you on this subject, it is something that really is big in our relationship. I'm just done with your ex being involved in your life at all.
I'm wondering if for Corey, he is hyper-focused on the ex-boyfriend or this other guy as a scapegoat for his insecurities about Evelin's feelings for him. Because to me, looking at this, I think he should be concerned about the ex, I suppose, but he should be way more concerned about Evelin's feelings for him. But he's really focused. I think he doesn't want to face that total speculation because that's too painful to think about, because what it means is she just doesn't love him. But instead, he's going to focus on what is something that's more easily attainable, the scapegoat, the ex-boyfriend. And if I can manage to get him out of her life, then I can relax. But it doesn't look like that's true because, one, she's broken up with you. And she has talked about breaking up with you multiple times. And by pushing the ex-boyfriend out of life, which is a good friend of hers, it could cause her to be even more angry and less likely to want to be with you. So let's see what happens.
It is not healthy to our relationship,
Yeah, I understand. I know that what I did wasn't right at all. I'm not proud of that. I am upset that you brought it up, and I don't want you to ever bring it up anymore because I just want to forget that.
I understand.
We've heard this before from this couple and from other couples that they say, I just don't want to hear it. You're dwelling in the past. Let's move forward. I don't want to hear about it. That's not a viable solution. What is a viable solution is let's talk about how, if you feel like you want to, because I don't want to think about it anymore. It's still in your heart. So you want to bring it up every once in a while. You're going to be triggered to bring it up, and that's okay. How do we talk about it, though? Because I don't want to feel like 5 years from now, I'm still being accused of something that I'm not even really quite sure was infidelity. So how can we talk about it such that it's not terrible for both of us? That is the central question that I focus on in infidelity recovery with couples that I work with, because it's normal for the Coreys of the world to have recurring feelings. It's normal for the Evelins of the world to say, I don't want to hear about it anymore. But there's going to be conversations. There has to be. And how do you talk about it? Often the way that it looks like is the Coreys of the world will say, so I'm triggered right now. This isn't your fault, but I'm having that insecurity happen. I'm remembering that time when you cheated, And I guess I just need some reassurance from you that you love me and that you're not going to do that again. And then the Evelins of the world rise to the occasion and say, I love you. I'm so sorry that happened. It makes sense that you're feeling that way. I'll never do that again. I've learned my lesson. I know why I did it back then. It was because of these 3 reasons that I've accounted for now. Let's see how they manage this.
Yeah, no, I really do. And I'm sorry too.
But instead, with this couple, she says, no more talking about it, which is a version of stonewalling, which is not a good sign in a relationship. And then he says, yes, I agree. I'm never going to talk about it again. Because I think, accurately, he predicts, if I don't agree to this, she's going to leave me. And so I'm just going to agree to it, even though I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to follow that, which he's already made this promise before and already broken it. And it's just a troublesome pattern that they have, where he feels like he has to sacrifice his needs to get her to stay in a relationship with him, which isn't a very good foundation for a relationship.
I know it was a mistake that she wishes she hadn't made, but it's hard for me to let it go because I know that Evelyn's ex is always pursuing Evelyn and trying to reach out to her. And it's just constantly annoying, and I'm just sick and tired of it.
Right, and people will focus on this of like, this guy, he's pursuing my girlfriend. I want him out of my life. Okay, but it's Evelyn that you should be concerned with, because Evelyn, if Evelyn was really into Corey, would say to this ex, look, you got to stop that. And if you don't, then we're done. Or Evelyn would say, well, I'm going to ignore it. It's from Evelyn. You shouldn't care if someone's pursuing your partner. That shouldn't bother you. What should bother you is if your partner is receptive or entertaining or leaving that door open to that other relationship, because that is a legitimate threat.
I don't want to feel like I could potentially find something between you guys. Like, I just want it gone. Is that something you consider doing?
Yeah, I'll do it.
All right, again, she's saying she understands. She said this before, but then in other instances, she doesn't seem to be on board with it. So there are times like this where I'm like, oh, maybe she is into him. Maybe she does want to make these kinds of sacrifices for the relationship. And then other times it seems like that is just not on the agenda for her. But I don't know. She's a hard one to figure out as to, on a scale from 1 to 100, how much in love, how dedicated, how loyal, how into Corey is she?
Understand. I'll do it.
Well, it means a lot to me.
I mean, I want you to be trusting me. I want you to feel like there is nothing that you have to worry about in our relationship.
All right, that's a good sign. That's very helpful. And if I heard that from a couple I was working with, I would really praise. Good, you're in a good zone. You're rising to the occasion. You're not putting him down. You're recognizing he has an insecurity and a worry, and you are saying, okay, you know what? If it takes me doing this so that I can build trust back, then I'm willing to do that. So I'm not saying that she had to do it, because there's other ways to build trust, but they're deciding to do it this way, and she's seeing it accurately.
So hopefully we can just move forward and
Yes.
everything can be okay.
Exactly.
I never, ever meant to hurt Corey. So I just hope that he can get through this and that he can see that I love him so much and I want him with me every single day.
And then we hear things like this, and I'm wondering, oh, so does she love him a lot? Because there's so many indications that she does not love him. But then she says stuff like this, and I'm like, okay, it sounds like, and of course, we have no idea what's happening day to day between these two. But it's one of those questions that I don't always have with the couples on the show. But when I do, I really worry about the stability. And because if she's not really into him, then they both lose, because she's stuck with someone that she doesn't want to be with, and he's stuck with someone that doesn't want to be with him.
I'm very excited to move forward in the relationship and just better it. That's what I want.
Me too.
Okay. And I don't like sleeping out in the hammock.
I don't like you sleeping out in the hammock
No.
either. I love sleeping with you, and you know that.
I know. Even though I was really hurt and upset about what, things are getting better between me and Evelin since our fight last week. I've really been working on putting the past behind me, but unfortunately, I got some terrible news a couple days ago.
It's really messed up. I didn't know something like this could happen out of nowhere.
My dad passed away.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I mean, we saw him earlier in this. I didn't show clips, but he was on the show. He looked healthy. Wow, that's a huge blow. We've seen this before, right? Angela's mother died. We've seen other people die. I mean, I guess when you have a lot of people on a show, eventually, anyway, it's awful that happened to him. That's terrible.
My dad's the best person I've ever known in my entire life. Everybody loved him. Everybody spoke good of him. There's not one person on this world, I think, that can say that he wasn't a good person.
He is grieving right now, of course, and will be perhaps the rest of his life. And he's doing something that is often a part of the grief process, the emotional process, is to reminisce, to think about, to maybe even get angry, to think about it a lot, to talk about it a lot. Now, for the Evelins of the world, hopefully they support. And what a lot of people will ask me is, my spouse or my friend is going through a tough loss, a lot of grief. I don't know what to do. The best thing you do is listen and be there. So if Evelin the best thing she can do is just be attentive and just be, oh, wow, I hear you. It's so terrible. What a lot of people get hung up on is, what do I say? How do I say it? What's the right thing to say? That's not the mindset you want to get into. And people get into that so much that they get so anxious that they become very bad, companions for someone else's grief. You're just there. You're with someone. You understand. And you might even offer up your own losses and be like, I feel the same way about, such and such. You don't want to dominate, of course, but it's a time for maybe a lot of grieving for a lot of people. Anyway, let's see what Evelin does.
I can't believe it. Seriously, I'm still in disbelief about all of this. I hope one day I can be like him, You
even look like him, Corey. You're the best man I ever met.
Wow, that's... I don't know. I'm so worried about these two that whenever I see some indication of love and compassion from Evelin, which there are clear indications of at times, I am like, oh, I don't know why I react. I mean, I don't know why my stress depends on their relationship working out, but I don't know. I guess I just hope for people to be happy and to love each other, I guess. Anyway, so she said something really great. She's like, yeah, he was a great person. And you look like him, you are like him, and you're the best person that I've ever met. That's can't really get any better than that, right?
I miss you.
I miss you too.
Look, I found the ring.
Oh, yeah, I see that. Looks nice. Looks good on you. Evelin has been really supportive this whole time, even though she couldn't be here with me. She seems a lot more passionate and caring towards me.
I need something with you. I've been hugging the pillows every single.
Interesting. So from the beginning, I've had this question: how into him is she? There's a lot of indications that she's not. There's a lot of indications that she is. I wonder if the sort of sweet spot for her, the balanced place for her, is some contact with him, but not overwhelming contact with him. There seem to be some indications of that. When they don't see each other, she really, really misses him. When he's there, she will say things like, I want space. And that's why they broke up when she got together with that other person. That's what they said. Like, she needed space. So I wonder if they strike a balance in their relationship where they, have time together, but it's not all the time 24/7, if that will allow her to live in that compassionate, caring, loving, motivated toward him space. I don't know.
I only have 30 days on my visa when I go down there. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Evelin has never wanted to get married, but we're running out of time on my visa. So I've got to go down there to just see if I can convince Evelin to marry me.
Yikes. We've seen this before, that the individual will say, I've got to convince, on 90 Day Fiancé, Love in Paradise Caribbean, there was Martine who was really trying to convince her partner to marry her. And we saw a couple versions of that. We saw Mark trying to convince Kay. We saw Martine trying to convince her partner. And in one way, you could be like, hey, I just really want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you please give me a chance? And you're not being pressuring, and you're allowing the other person to have an opinion about it. And then there's the other way of demanding, expecting, this kind of thing. Or in denial of the fact that the other person doesn't want to marry you. It seems like what we're being presented here, that Corey is in denial. That he, on one hand, and I'm surprised that he knows, because we've heard that from Evelin, that she doesn't want to have kids, and that she was sort of on the fence of marrying him. Well, she said she didn't want to marry him because she wanted to make sure that he could be independent. But now he's just blanketly saying, she does not want to marry me. But I need to go down there, because if I don't go down there, then her attachment to me will drift away, and I'll never, our relationship will end. So I've got to get down there, and I've got to convince her to marry me. Which I wonder, I guess she said why she doesn't want to marry him. I think it's because she really wants to focus on career, maybe not being locked down. I don't know. Maybe they'll get into it.
Love you, sweetie.
Love you too. I'm sorry I have to go. I'm sorry everything happened.
No, you need to go. You need to go. You need to live your life. Well, things will work out here. We'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
So healthy emotion, normal emotion, makes sense. He wants to go to Ecuador so that he can work on his relationship with Evelin. But he also doesn't want to leave home because the father just passed away, and he doesn't want to leave his mom. And he has emotions about it, and the mom has emotions too, and is comforting him emotionally, physically, verbally, and saying, no, it's okay, you can go, even though a part of her will miss him. So there's a lot of health going on here.
I'm sorry you have to go through this. It's not fair. It's not fair.
It's fine. Are you fine?
Are you sure you're going to be okay?
I'll be fine. Dad would want you to go. You know that. Okay.
Yeah, just a really tender, difficult moment. If more family members had moments like this, the world would be a better place, I think. So I think we're seeing some really strong indications of health, and it makes me wonder about the relative health of his early childhood, because we don't see extreme attachment insecurity out of him. We see a little bit of preoccupation, a little bit of anxiousness, but is that because of some innate attachment insecurity that he developed early in life? Maybe there were too many kids because I went through a lot of kids. Anyway, I don't know. That would be a long shot in terms of an analysis. But on the other hand, it could just be that Evelin triggers him and pushes him into preoccupied. I don't think I talk about this very often, but our attachment reactivity is dependent on the relationship that we're in. So if we have secure attachment style, and we were raised pretty well, and we have good working models of self and other, but someone treats us in a way that makes us feel very rejected, then any of us will be pushed in various other attachment style directions: preoccupied, disorganized, avoidant. So I wonder, given all that we've seen, not only from the parents, particularly the mom being very open and caring and loving, but also just from his reactivity to Evelin, he hasn't had, when you compare his reactions to Evelin to other people, other cast members on the show, his reactivity is pretty low. And he has some, and I've commented on when I saw it, some wrong-headedness in a relationship, like if I could just get rid of that ex-boyfriend, then everything will be okay, instead of, do you really love me? I don't know if you really love me. So he's had some issues, but overall, we've seen, I think, a lot of evidence that he was raised pretty well in a way that made him feel like he's okay, that he can trust other people for the most part, that he doesn't need to, that when there is an attachment threat, past wounds aren't being triggered such that it makes a mountain out of a molehill. We haven't really seen that. So I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments.
So how did you get here?
My brother brought me here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. There's definitely some pressure on us because Corey has just a certain amount of time in Ecuador. Makes me feel a little worried because I don't want to get married. It's just not one of my dreams.
Interesting. We've heard her say this multiple times, and he has even said he knows this, that she doesn't want to get married. But he said he wants to go down there to convince her to marry him. So I guess we'll see what happens. But if I was his friend, I would say, she doesn't want to marry you, dude. Like, if you have to convince someone to marry you who clearly doesn't want to get, not only not marry you, but doesn't want to get married at all, I don't know if you're in a very good position.
If you really want to marry me, Evelyn, then marry me. If you don't, it's okay, I understand. If you don't want to, it's okay.
I do. Yeah, I do want to.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do want to.
Are you sure? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I like the way he asked. He was saying, look, I really want to marry you, and I'd love it if you want to marry me, but if you don't, that's okay too. It's your decision. It's okay, whatever you say, but I really want to marry you. So it came across as not being pressuring or in denial of the possibility that she doesn't want to marry him. I'm a little worried, though, because I think she's clearly at least kind of on the fence, and ideally that wouldn't be the case. And she has said multiple times that she doesn't want to get married at all, or to him. So is she just swept up in the moment, or feels bad, or whatever? So there's a little bit of a shaky foundation right now. Who knows? Maybe they'll work it out. But they are going to get married. They're getting engaged now, and clearly he loves her. I've been wondering if she loves him. And there are times when it seems as though she does not love him and has broken up with him over very tiny arguments compared to other arguments on the show. And then there are other times when she has all the classic signs of being in love. I miss you. I want to cuddle with you, and I think you're the best. And she has a lot of respect for him. When his father died, he was talking about how his father was a great man, and he always wanted to be like his dad. And she immediately says, you are like him, and you're the best person I know. And so you've already achieved what you have set out to do with being like your dad, who was also a great person. So there's a lot of indications that she is totally in love with him. So what's going on there? Is it just a life, career choice barrier that she's getting into, but her heart wants to, but her head's like, it's too soon, or I don't want to get bogged down with marriage. If we get married, is he going to expect to have kids? And I don't want to have kids. She's said that she doesn't want to have kids. So I don't know. And I think this is my strongest hypothesis, given what we've seen, is that when they have a balance between togetherness and separateness, she is able to manifest her full love for him. When they're apart, she really misses him. And when he comes and visits her, I perceive it as a certain claustrophobia that she feels because he doesn't have any friends, he doesn't have a job, he can't speak the language very well, he doesn't get along with her family he gets along with the family but doesn't hang out with them because he doesn't know them very well. And so maybe if they strike a balance there in terms of how much contact they have on a day-to-day basis, her full love can manifest. That's my hope.
And to learn Spanish, she asked me to talk with your family and immerse myself in the culture more. And she says I need to put on more muscle. Like, I need to look more attractive. Like, I need to have a six-pack, and then we can get married.
Yeah, it's because he got a lot of weight on.
Interesting. So Corey seems to be taking it well. He's smiling. He's saying that Evelin has told him that he needs to have a six-pack, he needs to have more muscles, and then she will marry him. Maybe they're just joking about it. If she's being serious about that, that's a huge yikes. She's also saying, which sounds a lot more reasonable, that he needs to get along better with the family. I think what she means by that is, I want him to be integrated into our town. I don't want him to be this attachment on my side. I want him to have his own life with my family, with his friends, with work. I don't want him to be completely attached to me. I want to be able to respect him. I want him to have other things in his life besides me, because I have my own dreams that are independent of him, and I don't want him to be constantly at my side. That's my interpretation. So let's see what they say.
I still got 5 months because I was accepted for a 6-month extended tourist visa, meaning it gives us the extra time necessary to get the ball rolling with the marriage.
Evelin, hold your hands up. Hold your hands up like this. Are you wearing your engagement ring?
I'm not surprised, and of course, Sean is asking this question because she's not surprised that Evelin is not wearing the engagement ring. Now, it was a giant rock, so it's probably not the most comfortable thing to wear. Maybe that's why she's not wearing it, or she's not wearing it for the same reason she wasn't wearing the promise ring, which is that she's ambivalent about the relationship, and she's ambivalent about getting married in general. So this is a continuing list of red flags for Corey that he should probably be paying attention to. And I don't really know what's going on in Evelin's heart and in her mind, because she agreed to she said yes to the proposal, and she has a lot of indications that she loves him and wants to be with him, but there's all these other indications that she really doesn't want to be tied down. Maybe they'll get into it.
I forgot.
Seriously, Evelin, are you kidding?
Forgot. Completely forgot.
If Sumit put a ring on this finger, it would never come off. Not ever.
Right. That you forget. Now, people have different associations, and cultures have different associations with wedding rings or engagement rings. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that she did forget, or she just has in her heart, she definitely wants to marry him, but the ring thing isn't necessarily tied to that. But of course, there's been so many indications that she's ambivalent about the relationship and about marriage. And when we see both the promise ring and the engagement ring not being worn, we have to, there's a lot of arrows pointing to Evelin having some serious doubts as to whether or not she wants to be with him and marry him.
I would super glue that thing to my finger. It would never come off.
I can't believe you're not wearing it right now, Evelin. What the heck? You don't wear it?
I'm so sorry. I literally just realized it this morning.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no. Sorry.
Well, Corey and Evelin.
And she's apologetic, and she feels bad. I would imagine that she should probably say, this doesn't mean that I don't want to marry you, but I think it does mean that she doesn't, or that part of her doesn't want to marry him. And she was saying earlier that he has to do all these things before she will marry him. It's not usually what you'll hear, right? You're not usually saying, well, I'll agree to marry you if you have a six-pack, then I'll marry you. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.